What does the return to school during the COVID-19 pandemic look like? I'm Shanda Gallego here at the Prospect Primary School with an inside look into their state of readiness in the age of the coronavirus. Principal Reed, how important was it for you in the school to create a unique guidance document? I know the Minister of Education, Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, along with the Department of Education Services, they recently toured the various schools across the Cayman Islands, specifically here at Prospect, and they were able to see how exactly we're going to be positioned and situated for our kids. So how important was that to create the guidance document unique to your school and to your students?
There are certain key concepts that have got to be common to all. And for that guidance, we've got guidance from the Chief Medical Officer, we've got guidance from the government on opening schools. But you're right, we have to make it unique to the schools because each school is different. I mean, our smaller schools in the East End can do things differently to us. We are a completely enclosed building with 28 pupils in most of our classes, so we can't operate in exactly the same way as the school next door that don't have such large class sizes. So we know our building, we know how we can make it work within a set of rules, and that's what we've had to do.
Okay, and I know the minister actually came right in when you're doing the preparations. So I know that there's still a little bit more finishing touches that we have. So let's talk about the measures and some of the, additional measures that have been put in place to ensure that when these kids come back to school, they're back in a supportive, nurturing, and safe environment.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest changes is going to be, as a visitor coming to the school, once the children are back, this is as far as you're going. Because once we go past this point, it's going to be staff and students only, because we want to limit the number of people that are coming into the building.
Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about these additional measures, and I know that's unique to each school, right?
Yeah, what we've done, we've taken an integrated approach across all schools throughout all 3 islands. We're installing plexiglass barriers at all reception stations throughout the whole of the schools. There's a little backlog of plexiglass, but in the event we'll have some plastic or something else that would substitute that until we get the plexiglass on island.
All right, now walk us through and how our kids would be able to navigate throughout the school with these additional measures.
Now, we've spent the entire summer getting every inch of the building cleaned and sanitized, so the building's absolutely sparkly, and what we can't do is have an influx of a huge number of people coming in and potentially bringing the virus in with them.
So we're still having ongoing works go on as we walk. So you'll see desks being moved, you'll see desks being cleaned and that type of stuff.
Okay. What we will ensure is in place is that the students know that we only have 3 people at a time in the bathroom. We'll be drumming home to the children that when you've been in the bathroom, normally you'd be washing your hands, but at this point you're doubly washing your hands to make sure. The children will have spacing out in the corridor here to remind them that if there are other people in the bathroom, they wait and they go in, so there's only a couple in there at any point.
In every classroom, there's 3 foot from end to end. So basically, it's about 5 foot total of social distance.
Okay.
All desks are being wiped down twice a day. When the kids go out and they come back to have their lunch, we'll have them wiped down again.
I mean, we do want to try and keep it as normal as we can for the children, but obviously moderated by keeping it safe at the same time. So we're going to divide up the playground so that each year group has its own, or each class has its own area, so they can come out, they can have a bit of a run round. We've got to think about shade and how we manage shade and things like that, and that's a different problem, but we're on that. But yeah, they'll be able to come out at snack time and have a bit of a break and some fresh air. They'll be able to come out at lunchtime, they'll have some fresh air then. The other thing is I'm also encouraging staff as much as possible, take your lessons outside.
Mr. Gardner, you were mentioning about the outdoor provisions.
Mainly we have some waiting areas at front. When the kids are dropped off in the morning, they'll be separated between the 3 areas. And also at each exit point and entry point into the building, we've removed the water fountains and installed hand sinks. We're having dispensers to dry your hands and also soap to wash your hands installed. That's going to be installed shortly. But at the water fountains on the outside of the building, we're going to replace with this type of system.
Principal Reed, I know that a lot of preparation is going into this, and I know from cleaning, sanitization, everything. It's a lot of hard work.
Well, every corner. We've got our Andro in at the moment who are busy servicing all of the air conditioning and making sure that the systems are clean and safe and ready for the children to come in, so that everything is as fresh as it possibly can be.
And how long have you guys been working on this?
So we've been here for about a week or so, preventing any dust and mold from accumulating.
Mr. Ray, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now let's talk about the canteen services and how food will be consumed and how food will be served.
Sure, definitely. The good thing about the canteen service is that it was one service that really had the protocols established long before we had any issues with regard to COVID, because typically canteen servers would be in a position where they would have been covered with masks, they would have used gloves, they would have sanitized the dinnerware that was being used. So all of that will continue. The key part that will be quite different is that meals themselves won't be served within the cafeteria area. They'll be served within the classroom, right? And some schools may have all meals picked up for class and taken to the classroom. It may be a case where students are coming and collecting meals and going back to the classroom, but that's up to the organization of the school and how best they do it. But the important thing is that it'll be covered meals, and the eating of the meals wouldn't be in the cafeteria space itself.
Thank you, Principal Reed, for just giving us a little bit more insight, and Mr. Ray to you as well. But I'm going to stay with you a little longer because I know that there is some measures and protocols for new school bus transportation.
Absolutely.
So we're going to head out and check the school buses
Sounds good.
for some of those measures.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Mr. Ray, I feel like I'm going back to school. It just feels like that because we are here at Barnes Bus Transport Depot, where we're going to be talking about the school bus transportation protocols. I know this is really important. So what can you tell us with this?
Sure. So ordinarily, in a normal environment, we would have had our school children just sitting on the bus and being transported as normal. With the advent of COVID, of course, we had to put other protocols in place. And the main thing that we are going to do, we're going to make sure that we sanitize hands when they get onto the bus. And the bus companies, they have their strategies of how they're going to start with social distancing. But the reality is that we can't maintain physical distancing within the bus. We would have way too many trips. It would take too long for kids to get to school. So we are allowed to have 2 per seat. But here at Barnes Bus Transport, Mr. Barnes has his strategy, as all the other bus companies do, in terms of how they're going to allocate students to seats. So I think it might be useful to speak to him.
Well, you know, the first thing as we enter the bus, you have to, no mask, no entrance. You have to sanitize your hand. That I will do for you as you step up on the bus.
Okay. Oh, wow. So we have their markings.
Now we have this marking for a reason. You know that it's 2 to a seat, but we start with, not with the X's. When you see the blank, you can sit there. Mr. Mark will sit on the other side.
Okay.
And then who else? Animal come. Then the next student will sit here. And then the next one will sit here until the bus is full up down. So the bus will be sprayed out. That will be before each pickup. And after we drop the children off and let them off at school, then the bus warden or the driver will sanitize with a little hand beer.
Yes, because they touch a lot of different places.
Anyway, that we will do that each time before the bus go back out. Now when the bus go ready to go back out for the second pickup, we'll do the same thing again. And each entrance for the bus, children will sanitize their hand. And the bus warden sits here, the driver sits there, nobody sits across from the driver. So the driver will have no connection with the children, only the warden, unless the driver have to get involved in something.
Basically, Shanda, I think the important points, you know, we making sure that not only the students, but the bus driver and the bus warden are kept safe. So the disinfecting, the sanitization of hands, the X's on the seats to kind of demarcate where students should sit initially until the bus fills up. All of these are protocols that we're putting in place just to make sure that we keep everyone safe, spaced as much as possible for the initial part of the trip, But as more students get on, we are allowed, we've got clearance from public health to allow 2 per seat, provided that masks are worn constantly throughout the trip. Mr. Barnes is just one example of a number of dedicated companies that we have providing this service to our school children. When we think of the responsibilities of teachers, the responsibilities of special support aides, teacher assistants, any staff in schools, the reality is that the very first interaction that students have with anything school related, for most of them, is the school bus, because the school bus picks them up first in the morning. Yeah. So this sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Parents are very concerned with this step. Like you said, it sets the tone for the day and for these kids. So seeing it and having that visual, it helps parents and puts them at ease, knowing that, hey, my kids, I'm sending them off for the day and they can be confident that they're in good hands.
Absolutely.
There you have it, an inside look into the state of readiness into our government schools in the age of coronavirus. I'm Shanta Gallego.